Welcome back to Upleveled Strategies, listeners. We are excited to have you here today. I have two amazing guests with me. I have Dana Tescher to my right in pink, and then I have Jennifer Gould with me on the far end. And so today we're going to be talking about really like nutrition, health, and wellness. And I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs where sometimes we put our own health on the back burner to take care of other people or to what it's our passion that drives us in entrepreneurship. And a lot of times that leads to burnout. Now, Jennifer, you have actually been in the health and wellness space now for how many years?
Probably like 14 plus years.
Yes. And you too, you have been in the health and wellness space for 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's been about 23 or 24. And so, obviously there's things that have driven a lot of us to kind of dive into health and wellness. And it comes back to, maybe the way that we were raised. Maybe it's our parents that have some sort of health issue that we don't want to get, right? I know that's for us, right? So Jennifer, you were in the Air Force. So tell us a little bit about why you ended up in the military or how you ended up in the military.
So I come from a military background, so it was almost like innate. My favorite movie growing up was Top Gun, so I was going to be a pilot, do all that stuff. But can't tell, but I wear contacts and bad eyes. So back then I couldn't do that. So I was like, I'm going to go in one way or another. But then my backup was I wanted to be a surgery technician. So I scored high enough that they let me do that. So between my 14 years of service, I did 14 years. Well, I was a surgery tech and then I did EMT too. And then it came up for my last enlistment and I was like, I like what I do, but I got tired of seeing so many people come in with diabetes, heart problems, like stuff that's just really preventable. So I decided to get out and then switch gears. And I met some people and I got into personal training and did my first bodybuilding show. And my passion just grew like exponentially since then.
Yeah.
So I just took that and ran with it and decided maybe I'll kind of look at adding some other things like maybe physical therapy. And my mentor at the time, he suggested maybe I do massage therapy. And if I love it, then, I can continue.
Yeah.
And never ended up continuing just because I love what I do so much. And I just love the freedom of it and being able to not be regulated by government programs or anything like that. I can modify what my clients need. So that's
amazing. Sure. And so early on, you had a passion for that whole side of preventative care and looking at like, what can I do differently from what my parents did? And that kind of led you into the whole nutrition game, right? As well as the bodybuilding. And so what are some of the things that you notice that kind of how they go hand in hand?
Well, I think it's all full circle. Like if you feed your body the right things, then you live longer, you have more energy, like all these things. So it's the whole like natural. And there's a time and place for medicine, but food is like the first natural medicine for us.
Right.
The roots. Get back to our roots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you notice any like common themes with some of the people that you work with?
Kind of goes all over the place, but as people get older, there's so much like with women, hormone changes, weight gain, like mood changes, those kind of things. So like after 30, 35, really, I mean, we talked about like 50, 60, but it even starts earlier. If you're body aware, it starts early. And if you start like paying attention to the trends and the signs, and that's where we can kind of handle things instead of waiting until you're like 65. Then you're in the doctor's office and you're like, oh yeah, I've been dealing with this for 20 years. I didn't think anything of it. But
yeah. Do either of you hear a lot of people say that's just a natural part of aging?
All the time. All the time. All the time.
Does it make you as frustrated as it makes me?
Oh, yeah. And I think so, especially as we're getting into that upper age, as we're shifting. Yeah. So to have an upper 60, 70-year-old and say, it's fine. It's all part of life. I don't want to be this miserable.
Yeah.
Oh, you're young. Don't worry. It gets worse. That's daunting. No, I want to live past 100. So
Yes.
But not like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I find that so frustrating. And one of the reasons that I find it very frustrating is it basically, I feel like it gives people a ticket to be complacent.
Yes.
And really, we know that health is hard work. And then if they're like, well, that's just the way it's going to be, they almost like give up and they don't even try. But then that leads you down the dangerous road of diabetes, stroke, heart disease, a whole bunch of other things, right?
Right.
So what are some of the things that you do with your clients to really help pull them out of that downhill slide?
Well, anytime they have comments like that, like especially with my massage clients, oh, I'm pretty sure it's just age, but my hip over here is just really bothering me. So if you could just make it feel better I know it's not going to last, but comments like that, I just stop the negative self-talk for one and just turn it around and say, hey, let's do some education right now.
Yeah.
These are some of the reasons that maybe, and once we get into the body and discover some of that stuff, then I do post massage we can do to speed up that process and make it not as bad as it has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your bodybuilding journey.
So that was totally by accident. I had just gotten out of the service and I had been working out. Of course, you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who was like, hey, you should come to this dinner with me. And so I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was going to be a social
free
media.
dinner. Yeah.
And I walk in and there's all these people, their tank tops ripped and tan. And so it was just a dinner. And then next thing, her coach is calling me like, you got to sign up. You got to sign up. I don't know. And I was looking for a new challenge. So I was like, this is a far shot, but let's give it a go. So I did the work, or I did a 16-week program, and I actually got first place in my category on my first show. But it just goes to show that whatever you commit yourself to, and mindset is so important. Like if I kept that mindset of like, oh, I'm not good enough, or this is so hard, I wouldn't have gotten on stage at all, or done as well as I did. So, but I just had great support and a great coach, and we just went through all the struggles. So that was a really cool, even looking back now, experience that I got to have for myself, so I can educate people, not just clients, but anybody that I meet, that mindset is everything. If you really set yourself towards getting better, healing, or any kind of fitness, nutrition goal, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Your mind is so much more powerful than we give it credit for.
We were, Dana and I were just at a mastermind, and one of the girls that we were talking to kept saying, oh, this is so hard. Oh, it's just so hard. Or I'm too busy. And so we were like, okay, if that's what you're going to tell yourself, it's almost like you don't even want to take the next step. It's almost like your body won't even let you do the next thing because you keep staying in this, it's too hard excuse.
You're creating that ceiling for yourself. Yeah. The limitation.
Very much so. So I love that you're teaching your clients that, as a tool to leverage them into something greater, And so what are some of the key things that you learned from bodybuilding that you now bring into what you do currently for your clients?
A lot of it, actually. So aside from like the working out and the superficial things, is just like every time you have a challenge or you have an injury, like you're in charge of your destiny.
Yeah.
So if you want this bad enough, you can push through, and just having someone to tell you or remind you that it's okay. Nothing in life is linear. Healing isn't linear. Our goals are not linear. So sometimes you're going to fall short, but the idea is to get back up again and get on that horse and ride again until you succeed. Everyone thinks champions are, they're just born. Not at all. Champions have lots and lots of failures, but it's those failures that bring us to the successes, the trophies, the wins, big or small.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that I bring into all of my practices, and just, coaching people and educating people. It's all a journey, and it doesn't always have to be bad. And again, like I harp on the mindset, but it's there. If you think this is hard, if you think it's going to be. So if you're frustrated with your health, don't just stay there. Like, let's do something about it. And it doesn't have to be major, huge changes. Let's start with the small stuff that's easy, that's manageable, and then we'll work towards that. But it's a whole system. You can't just do one thing or expect your massage therapist to do one thing every 4 weeks and see really great results.
Yeah.
You're going to feel good. You're going to have some changes. But if you don't put in the work and you don't have like all the boxes checked, or your healing or your progress is it's going to be slow.
And the consistency, you know,
Consistency
you can start today, but 2 weeks from now, are you still doing those things to press forward? You know,
and that's another thing is like checking in with our clients every time they come in. Okay, what have you done to make this different? Oh, I'm so frustrated. I'm not getting any better. Okay, what do we need to do different here? But also, like, more importantly, I only see you for 90 minutes or 60 minutes every month. What are you doing on your everyday that's making a change?
Yeah.
Is it nothing, or do we need to bump it up a little bit more?
Yeah. Have you noticed that there's something that makes that big, huge shift or change with your clients' results as far as like massage and nutrition?
Well, I do notice the people that really notice, oh, I did this one stretch, or I did this one thing. Let me add one more. So it's almost like they just have to experience it first. Instead of, you know, some of us just get so frustrated because we're like on the end of this spectrum and our clients are like just starting out. So what, I didn't do my stretches. It's a big deal. But like once they witness and experience, like, oh, that's what she's talking about.
My neck's not tight, or you know,
okay, so if I do this and my massages, I feel better for like a couple more weeks. So next time, maybe if I do something else and this, then we can kind of like crawl up that ladder a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So what are some of the modalities that you've done in the past that you've transitioned to now that you're seeing more results with?
So being a bodybuilder, I was always like, let's help the athlete because we all hurt. And yet I want to do the spa stuff. But in the meantime, I was kind of breaking down my body. And so I've decided to switch to myofascial work, which is, we could have another podcast on what myofascial work is. But it's basically like, instead of working from the top down, we're working at the cellular level and bringing everything to the surface. So it's detox. It's unwinding of all of those cells in the fascia tissue to pull anything from toxins to emotional or physical trauma and all that stuff. Sometimes those are the blockages that we don't really talk about. You know, you have the physical stuff, but you could have an ankle injury. You twisted your ankle when you were like 16 or something riding a bike and it got better. But you always have this like nagging feeling. Sometimes it's just the emotional trauma that's stuck there. And if you release that, then you never have those issues again.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I just kind of fell into the myofascial work and I've only done 2 classes and there's more to come, but like I'm just practicing so much and learning so much with kind of, I went strictly from deep tissue. Okay, cutting that off. Now we're going to do myofascial. And now I'm like, well, there's a time and place and they kind of work very well, like coinciding together. And Dena can speak on this, on just how much more effective it is in long term for like the whole body concept. So your water intake and your nutrition intake and all the stretching and exercising just becomes that much more effective because you are kind of starting off with a clean slate.
That's amazing.
So it's more cellular instead of just like superficial, just trying to like dig down.
Yeah, hammer outside. Yeah, interesting. Now, have you experienced it?
I have.
You have. What do you think?
I love it. You know, I've always been a fan of the deep tissue work, and Jennifer does a fantastic job in it. And as a therapist, those are the things you come in with, you know, the shoulders, the elbows, the hands, the wrists, or whatever, the back. But her transitioning into the myofascial work from the deep tissue, like the synergy between the 2 modalities is almost needed because, like she said, there's an emotional component, like, you know, shoulders and neck. That's where we carry our stress and our tension, right? So the weight of the world is here. So in most people that come in to get a massage, that's their same point, right? But when you start doing this myofascial work and you slow down that nervous system and get that unwinding to happen, I mean, sometimes you can feel an electrical,
like it turns on.
This is supposed to be connected to the fingertips, you know?
Right.
So it's a really neat modality that she's
so awesome. I've seen a lot of people who've had carpal tunnel get work done in the neck and then that goes away versus the surgery, which usually comes back. So
the nerves will just regenerate after you cut them. So they find different pathways. So cutting is not always the answer.
I know. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a business owner?
Transitioning from working under somebody to being like an independent business owner has its own challenges, but trying to find a way for I guess, streamlining services where people can find you easily instead of just, I found you on Google and it was so hard to book an appointment. You don't have anything available, because we don't really want to leave, especially now, our number out there for everybody to call, because you never know what's going on. So creating a website or just being under one website where that streamlines everything has been one of the biggest challenges. And especially with me, because I don't just do massage, I do nutrition planning and some other things too. So, the coaching. So trying to find a software program or something that does everything at the same time, where your client's not like, I just came on here for a massage. There's like so much information. What do I do with it? Yeah. And then, let me just table that for me. And then they finally meet a friend or something, and hey, Jen, I need to book with you, but I think I want a massage, but I know I heard you do this other stuff. I don't really know. So then, that's been a huge challenge.
And so currently, are people mostly word of mouth for you, or are they?
I do have I have a Facebook page, I have a website, and then I have the business website as well. But a lot of my clients just reach out through word of mouth. Their friends, being in a small town, it's just, full of everybody talks and whatever. Yeah. That's usually how I get most of my clients.
Gotcha. Cool. And so then are you bringing them on as massage clients and then getting them into more of the lifestyle changes, or vice versa?
That's usually how it works. Every once in a while, when I am doing my own personal workouts, someone will grab me for specifically nutrition or workouts. But most of the time, it's more of they just come in to relax, and then we discover there's something more that needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. I like that. Yeah. Any questions?
I don't. Her and I visit a lot, so I'm thankful that she was able to pop in with us today and visit. It's all, every time we have a conversation, I get little golden nuggets of her history and like why she's as amazing as she is. So it's always fun to have conversations with her.
Tell me what drives you? Like, what do you think is what motivates you most to help others in this fashion?
Honestly, there's just something from the Lord above who's just blessed me with all of these gifts to be able to help people be their best person. We're all here to like serve him and help each other out. And that's just the biggest thing. It's just like it really hurts my heart when people aren't at their best so that they can't take care of everybody else around them or even just be kind. So that's kind of the bottom root of everything. And then, like I said, I've always just been super passionate about like what we put in our body and just like living the most purest, healthy life. I love being outdoors and just being able to be active with my nieces and do things and, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't like being sedentary. It just makes me feel like this.
Yeah. So speaking of being outdoors, you live in one of the most challenging climates in the universe, to say the least, right?
About this yesterday.
And so what are some things that you really help to promote? Like, if someone does like to be outdoors a lot, like, what are some of the things that you do when it's cold outside or too hot?
So that's really important just because like I haven't discovered scientifically yet what it is out here, but people seem to gain a little bit more weight. My theory is we're really active for the 4 months that we have sunshine, and then we're just like in this cuddled little baby posture to like warm up. So it is the extremes between temperatures and climates and things like that. So we really have to be cognizant of like our body temperatures and regulating that kind of stuff. And again, that just comes with like food supplementation, things like that. We can do the inside stuff to make sure it's not as miserable. And then just being active, even though it's cold, like hydration is so important. We don't realize that we are in a little bit of a drier climate, and we kind of go all over the place. It's very humid. But I mean, hydration is important 365 days, not just, when it's hot or whatever. But it gets so cold and so frigid. The last thing you want to do is put cold water in your mouth. But that's really important. And I always advocate heat therapy just to kind of loosen some of those muscles. And, a lot of people complain more about joint pain out here more than anywhere that I've ever been in the world. Yeah. Okay. So just having experienced being with different populations and climates. That's been something
very
interesting. That's helped me. Oh, okay. This is more than something else. This is actually like an environmental thing. This is like where you're living. So let's make some of those, again, lifestyle changes or modifications.
Yeah.
Just to kind of not compliment, but help with the colder temperatures.
Yeah.
The transition of the season.
That's so hard.
I know
Yeah.
how you guys do it. Yeah. So what are some of the favorite exercises that you enjoy?
So I like working out, but I've done it so much that it's almost a chore, or I shouldn't say a chore. It's like a job for me.
Yeah.
So sometimes I get so regimented when I get in the gym. Let's do this. Let's do something else. But I love going for hikes. Just because you get the grounding, you get the element of like just being outside in the sunshine, especially since we don't get our vitamin D often enough throughout the year. I love soaking it up as much as possible. And then I've actually really started enjoying like yoga meditation or Pilates and things like that. Just getting like a limber feeling of not being so tight all the time.
Yeah. So if you're used to doing a lot of lifting, you are tightening those muscles up. So the stretching is probably really good. Plus it's good for hormones.
Yes.
So you're getting a like twofer.
Absolutely.
Yep. Same like with massage, you're really kind of like getting a lot of those toxins out. Now, do you do like detox programs too with your client?
I don't do detox programs, but with doTERRA, I try to implement some of those things, just using some of those oils, whether it's like internal or even topical, just for inflammation. I mean, who doesn't have inflammation? But especially with people who, right? Especially with people who work out or super active and their joints are just like achy or muscles and things like that. So Deep Blue is one of like my go-tos.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Super awesome for inflammation. Yeah. Wonderful. Now, if somebody wanted to work with you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Honestly, the best way is if you can figure out through the Garo and book with me, that's the best way. And if you're lucky enough to have my personal phone number, that's probably the best way, just because it's instant, it's fast. We're always on our phones, whether we're spending time with family or not. So it's just easier for me to say, oh, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Janet Bingo.
Yeah.
I know you're on your personal time, but can we book an appointment with you?
Did you bring your...
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if our clients or our any of our listeners want to get a hold of you to book a session with you, I will put your Bagaro link underneath there.
Perfect.
And get them the best way to get a hold of you. And any other questions that you have?
I don't. Thank you so much for coming in today and visiting with us and sharing your passion and your story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
thank you guys.
Where's some of the directions that you think you will go next?
Well, I'm not a creature of like habit at all. So there's always like something next, something next. So like if you could see the gerbils running all the time, I'm like, ooh, what's next? Yeah. So I'm kind of in transition of thinking about what my next venture is. So
outside of the myofascial?
Outside of the myofascial, still kind of like in the same, it will always be health and wellness. That's what I was here for. But nothing on the horizon yet.
Nothing yet, but it's coming. You can feel it? Interesting. So. Love that. So stay tuned. We'll probably have to have you on another podcast to share what it is when it's revealed, right?
All the updates.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, listeners, for listening in. We appreciate you. Be sure to like and subscribe. We need you to help us grow this channel.